Miami. Game 272, the AFC East title game. The Bills and the Dolphins with major injuries for the Dolphins. Maybe no Raheem Mostert, no Jalen Waddle in that game. We'll preview that one coming up. We'll preview every Week 18 game, and we will give you, hold on, let me get them for you here, every playoff scenario.
Oh boy.
This is the AFC. There's not much left. There are 256 different seeding scenarios still in play for the NFC.
That's the way we like it.
Yeah. Welcome to NFL Game Day preview, everybody. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed the games last night. My name is Andrew Siciliano, Cynthia Freeland, Steve Wyche, Adam Rank offset. He will join us shortly here as well. It's all coming down to this.
I mean, and this is what the beautiful thing about Week 18 is. I mean, there's so many seeding scenarios like you talked about. There's so many divisions. 4 divisions are still up for the title right now, too. So, I mean, Cynthia, this is why we're here.
This is exactly why we're here. And I love this, like, last active and inactive. It's like bated breath. Everyone's like, oh, who's going to play? Who's not? Is Alvin Kamara? No, he's not. Oh, my God. All these things are changing everything right now.
Exactly, including a quarterback change for the Falcons. That one's coming up shortly here. Let's get the games, however, because they were both fun games for different reasons from yesterday. First of all, the game in Baltimore. If you sat through this game in Baltimore, you deserve some kind of prize because it was absolutely miserable. The Ravens really didn't play anybody, including Lamar Jackson. The Steelers really needed to win this thing, even though technically they wouldn't have been eliminated with a loss. George Pickens got it going, broke a 7-7 tie early fourth quarter with this long touchdown. I beg your pardon, Deontay Johnson from 71 yards.
By Mason Rudolph.
Exactly. Mason Rudolph. But the story here is if the Steelers get in, and they're in if the Titans win, coming up a little bit later today, they are likely without T.J. Watt. Knee injury, Ian Rappaport says MCL. We're talking about a multi-week injury here. Gus Edwards, however, would fumble here, give Mike Tomlin the football. That's late in the game. Eric Rowe punches it out. Marcus Golden recovers, and the Steelers beat the Ravens now 17-10. They need the Jaguars or the Bills to lose. This was a win and in game in Indianapolis, and what a game it was in the nightcap. Jonathan Taylor worth every penny with this long 49-yard touchdown. They go for 2, little pop pass, and we're tied at 14. But how impressed were you guys with C.J. Stroud?
Quite a bit, especially this play right here.
I mean, this is ridiculous.
Off his back foot, Nico Collins right there at the sticks. Keeps the drive going, Andrew, to set it up.
Nico 9 for $195. That's a career high and a touchdown. And then Devin Singletary motoring in to the end zone to give the Texans a 23-17 lead because Kaimi Fairbairn missed the extra point. Shane Steichen burned a timeout here, and on 4th and 1 with 1:06 to go, he threw to Tyler Goodson, and he dropped it. And I feel for the kid. He was stand up afterwards, said this doesn't define me, but I failed and I will be back next year. But the Colts are going to have to wait until next year because they are done. And how about the job by DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud? The emotions pouring out. Last year they could have had the #1 pick. They fell to 2 because they messed it up in 1 Week 18. They didn't mess it up. They got C.J. Stroud, and they are in the playoffs.
How about that?
If the Jaguars win, they're a wild card. If the Jaguars lose, Houston, everybody, hello, is the AFC South champion. So those are the 2 AFC games yesterday. Let's backpedal if we could to the first one. Mike Tomlin and Mason Rudolph and the Pittsburgh Steelers, Steve Wyche, have found a way to do it again, and now they wait.
Yeah, now they wait. They have to see if things break their way. But we've seen in the past when they've been in these situations, things have broken their way. But again, Mason Rudolph, the fact he didn't make a ton of plays. Our Ravens defense, even though they were diminished, still gave him a lot of problems. But he made the timely plays when he had to. And that's all that mattered. This ball right here to Deontay Johnson was just a beautiful ball, the one explosive play of the game. And that was the difference. You know, there were 8 fumbles in the slop here. But just the way that they played, we knew they were going to rally. It's what Mike Tomlin does. He's a culture coach is what they're calling it right now. And he got everybody to step up at the right moment. Again, now we'll see if they advance to the postseason. But the T.J. Watt injury could be significant at MCL. But if he's not there, Alex Highsmith has got to step up and do his thing.
The Steelers are in if the Titans lose this afternoon. They are at home facing the Jaguars. They're also in if the Bills lose later this evening in the final game. Cynthia, the Texans are already in. They're either the South champion or they are a wild card. Speaking as a Browns fan right now, I don't want to play the Houston Texans.
No, well, there's a couple of things we saw yesterday that you won't likely see again. One, this was their most penalized game of the season.
Yeah,
that was wild. Number two, they're missing a whole bunch of their pass catchers. They're missing also their lead sack guy and Jonathan Grenard. So they're going to get a little bit healthier. They're a feisty little playoff team. And C.J. Stroud, I love the emotion at the end, but I really love the poise to begin the game. That first dart to Nico Collins, everyone's like, oh, you want to play we're not going to let you play in primetime this entire season until week 18. And then you're going to throw that 75-yard touchdown. Number one, sealed Offensive Rookie of the Year in my book.
The guy is so good. He doesn't need to step into the ball. Obviously, you saw that dart over the middle there. And then that lob to Nico there. I mean, he is that special. The Texans now, if they win the division, if the Jaguars lose, they would host the Browns. They played a couple of weeks ago with Case Keenum at quarterback. If they are a wild card, they go to Buffalo. How about C.J. Stroud, Josh Allen?
Yeah,
Wild card weekend in Buffalo.
Either way.
Give me that one. All right, let's get the actives and inactives up here. Baker Mayfield, we mentioned, is up and good. Taylor Heineke is not. Taylor Heineke is down. He's the emergency third today, which means Desmond Ridder is going to play. Man, Desmond Ridder. All right, let's get Ian Rappaport in here, our NFL Network insider. Ian, we mentioned the T.J. Watt injury yesterday. Everyone holding their collective breath there in Pittsburgh. You're saying it's an MCL. How bad?
Not as bad as it seemed yesterday, and this according to J.J. Watt, who's the brother of T.J. Watt. I've since confirmed it. Not that it needed to be confirmed. It is a grade 2 MCL. This after the MRI this morning. Yesterday, upon initial examination, they believed it was a grade 3. In other words, an MCL tear. This is all better than being an ACL, which would be the worst. No surgery for T.J. Watt. Out several weeks. If the Steelers do make it, potentially, eventually he could put on a brace and play if they make a deep playoff run, but out indefinitely if the Steelers make it.
Okay, if the Steelers are in, they will not have T.J. Watt next week at a minimum. Right. The Jaguars, however, Ian, we had the pictures earlier, do have Trevor Lawrence. How bad is that shoulder, and what can we expect from him today?
Medically, Trevor Lawrence is okay. He is not, from my understanding, at risk of re-injury. He is not at risk of aggravating that shoulder injury. It is a right shoulder sprain, basically a sprained AC joint. So he can throw. He's going to be in some pain today, and Lawrence has shown that he is willing to deal with pain, especially in really big games, which I think is fair to say. Today is as big as it gets for this season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They ramped up this week as far as his throws. It was shorter, medium, and then long distance on Friday. He came out of that pretty well, was able to drive the ball. Considering that this is now a pain issue more than anything else, Trevor Lawrence is okay. Now, we will see how effective he is going to be. This injury is sometimes something that can hurt some accuracy, create some accuracy issues, but he is playing for the Jaguars.
They won last week with C.J. Beathard. If they need C.J. Beathard again, he is ready to go here potentially. They are in Nashville. I personally like the Titans today, Ian, because I think there are so many storylines there. Derrick Henry's final game, Ryan Tannehill's final game. Might it be Mike Vrabel's final game with the Titans?
I think it's fair to say that is uncertain, and colleague Tom Pelissero has a story on this on NFL.com. Mike Vrabel is going to coach today, then he's going to go into meetings at some point with ownership, with general manager Rand Carthon and whichever other members of the brass end up in that meeting. And there's going to be some questions, there's going to be some discussions, there's going to be a conclusion coming out of it, and right now it is not absolutely sure that Vrabel is returning to Tennessee. Now, he has said publicly that he wants to be back in Tennessee. I know the relationship between him and general manager Rand Carthon is a good one. It does seem that that partnership is working well, and they'd like to move forward together. We just do not know right now for sure what's going to come out of the meeting with ownership. Meanwhile, for the Washington Commanders and for Ron Rivera, that seems, let's say, a little more certain. My understanding is the Commanders are, in fact, expected to move on from Rivera. That will likely be tomorrow. And when you have an owner, Josh Harris, who pays many billions of dollars for a team and wants to put his own stamp on it, this generally makes sense. Took a year to evaluate, made very few changes to the football side. Those changes are now coming, beginning with Ron Rivera.
Many billions, 6 to be exact. Ron Rivera today with a victory would end his Washington tenure and have his NFL coaching record at one game over 500. He is 500 with 2 ties heading into this, likely his final game with the Commanders. Thank you, Ian Rappaport, NFL Network Insider. While marching towards game 272, the final game on NBC this evening, the de facto AFC East championship game. If you win it, you win the division. The Bills can also get in if the Jaguars lose this afternoon, and then a loss to the Dolphins would mean a wild card game back in Miami next week. However, if the Jaguars win, the Bills need to win this thing to get in. There are a lot of storylines, there are a lot of permutations here. Josh Allen owns the Bills as well. I'm sorry, the Dolphins of late. He always kills them. This game is going to be fascinating. Cam Wolf live in Miami. This game is also going to have a long list of injuries coming in here for the Dolphins.
Yeah, Andrew, that's the main story for the Dolphins going into this game. And let's start on the offensive side of the ball, where they're expected to be without stars Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert. Both of those guys have ankle injuries. They tried to go throughout the week. Waddle in particular returned to practice on Friday, but both of those guys are still limited. And so the Dolphins, who have already clinched the playoffs, are hoping to get them back next week for the first round of the playoffs and resting them today. So what does that mean for Miami? They got to figure out how to get some more offensive production. The focus will go on Tyreek Hill, who had a rough week dealing with the accidental fire on his home, but he's good to go today despite that ankle injury. He's expected to have a huge onus on the offense. And as far as the running back room, Devon Achane, he will get a heavy share of the touches as a lead back. He had a great game last time they played the Bills, and they expect to use him in the air and on the ground. Unfortunately for the Dolphins, it's not just on offense. They're also without Bradley Chubb and Xavier Howard on the defensive side of the ball too. And the main question that's been asked throughout Miami is, does Vic Fangio change his reluctance not to shadow corners and let Jalen Ramsey shadow Diggs? Ramsey's asked for it time and time again, but we're going to see if they let him go on Diggs, because the Dolphins defense is certainly going to need some help against Josh Allen.
Exactly. Can they get a pass rush going without Chubb and without Phillips? And Steve White on the other side of the ball, can this Dolphins offense get it going without Mostert and Waddle?
Well, this is why this game's on Tua. I mean, we keep on saying, can Tua be the good team? Can he step up in the moments he's at home? But the past 2 games, they've only scored 22 points. Now, they won one of those games, and the Bills' defense has not been allowing 22 points during this run that they're on. So Tua's got to be accurate. Tyreek Hill, I would not be surprised to see him play out of the backfield in some formations today, just to get the Bills to kind of get some tells right there. But Tua's got to be accurate. He's got to get the ball to Tyreek in other ways. He's got to find other players. This is going to have to be the efficiency game for Tua. But
I got you.
Yeah, but he has got to deliver and step up and show everybody he is ready for prime time.
When I'm looking at this game, I'm looking at the Bills' O-line. I understand that Josh Allen they're going to keep Josh Allen as clean as Cam Wolf looks down there. I mean, goodness, that hair, the brooch, amazing. That's how Josh Allen.
What is that brooch, by the way?
It's fantastic.
Sorry.
What
is the brooch?
Oh, it's a wolf. You know, I got to stay on
That's
brand.
right.
It's a wolf. You know, I got to stay on brand, Andrew. Cam Wolf got a wolf brooch.
It looks good. It looks good.
But back to the O-line. Even with Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb out, there will still be a pass rush that Vic Fangio is going to try to get. He's going to try to throw Josh Allen off his game to potentially make some of those mistakes we've seen him make this season. But Deion Dawkins on the left, not a good guy to go against in pass rush. He's been great this season. And then on the right, you got Spencer Brown with the run game. So now that they have the run game and James Cook kind of figured out, that's kind of a really big advantage for this Bills offense, because when I'm looking at what could potentially happen here, I think it will come down to what will the Bills offense be able to do? Will they be able to stay efficient? Will they be able to find the Eli Apple side of the field and stay away from the Jalen Ramsey side of the field? That's what I'm looking at in this one.
Yeah, Cynthia, I love what you said, giving some Deion Dawkins and offensive line love. One thing that's key for Buffalo is they're about to play their 17th game with the same starting 5. That never happens in the league, that continuity up front. That's why they've been able to protect Josh Allen. And one thing I want to key on with Josh Allen, we've talked about this before. He's 16-0 since 2020 when he does not turn the ball over. That is going to be a key for him. Can he stay within scheme and not put on the Superman cape, so to speak? Dolphins linebacker Jerome Baker told me the thing he loves about playing Allen is that at some point Allen's going to put the game on his shoulders, for better or for worse. And he believes that they're going to get a couple opportunities to get turnovers and take advantage of those today. That's one thing that Josh Allen and the Bills have to keep involved. And one thing the Bills also will target is the Dolphins in the slot. They've been one of the worst teams in the league defending the slot. So whether that's Stephon Diggs or Gabriel Davis or Dalton Kincaid, get your guy in the slot and try to feast.
A couple of things. Number one, again, there is a very real possibility of these two teams playing again next week in Miami. And number two, hats off to Cam Wolfe for being there 8 hours before kickoff for this show, but 11 hours before kickoff.
And looking that
for game
good.
day morning.
Come on.
Well done, Cam.
Well done.
We
Get to talk ball for a living.
You know what?
There you go.
Yeah, we should never complain. We're talking about football. Yeah, and we're wearing makeup. Hey, thank you, Cam. Cynthia Freeland. Did you?
Uh-huh.
I wish I could. Cynthia Freeland, we thank you. Cynthia's going back to game day morning, by the way, as well, on the TV side. As we put the NFC playoff picture in perspective here, really only a couple of certains. The Niners are the 1 seed. They've locked up home field. And the 4 seed will be the champion of the NFC South. Whether it's the Buccaneers or whether it's the Saints or whether somehow it's the Falcons. The Cowboys, however, are trying to wrap up the 2 seed. And Dallas can do that with a win in Washington or a Philadelphia loss. Bad weather up and down the East Coast. The Eagles are at home. They're getting the Giants, obviously. They can still win the division, but they need the Cowboys to lose. The Cowboys are not going to mess this up, right? They say they're not going to mess this up. We are live now at FedEx Field, just east of our nation's capital, saying good morning to Sherry Burrs. Hi, Sherry.
Well, hey, guys, good morning. You know, the Cowboys, they're trying to treat this game like a playoff because the outcome of this game can help them in the postseason. They want to get the NFC East title. Then they also want to get that 2 seed, which will set up at least 2 home games for them in the postseason. And why that's so important, they are 8-0 at home. And this week I talked to safety J-Ron Curse and I asked him, are there any common denominators that you guys have seen in the fact that you struggle on the road? He said it's a conversation that they are having in the locker room. What stands out is slow starts on both sides of the ball, never really getting into a rhythm. So they're hoping to try to fix those here today because, as Michael Irvin said, on game day morning on the TV side, right, we have the phrase win or go home, but that's exactly what Dallas wants to do. They need to win here today, guys, so they can go home and get that home field advantage.
Well, first off, it's good seeing Sherry 30 minutes down the road from Baltimore not getting dumped on with rain. That was
awful yesterday.
Thank you. Game yesterday. So good weather right there. But, you know, I think, you know, I really want to see Dallas today. One, they've got to run the ball, something they just haven't done well. But see if Dak and CeeDee Lamb can continue that chemistry. We saw last week against Detroit, the huge game for CeeDee Lamb playing out of the slot. That's going to be a huge factor for them moving forward in the postseason, whether they're playing at home or on the road. So if they can keep that up, we saw the win there in Washington. But this is something, again, the Washington Commanders are going to try to slow that down. Let's see what they can do when they've got the defensive scheming against that, which will be very interesting. Now, to go to the Washington Commanders here, we heard Ian Rappaport and to folks I've talked to as well, head coach Ron Rivera. This most likely will be his last game in Washington. There could be just a massive overhaul on what they do on both sides, on the personnel side and the head coaching side. So Rivera wants to go out to get this W, to get that record, Andrew, like you said, above
500
for his career. But this, Sherry, again, you know, just being around this team, what might the players be behaving like or saying, knowing that this could be it for Rivera, but also for a lot of them in Washington?
Well, obviously, you know, Steve, they want to put good film on tape, or to have good tape as they move forward if things don't work out. I mean, the biggest question mark with what's going to happen here in Washington is the fact that there's new ownership, right? What will the Josh Harris group do? We really don't know, but you got to imagine that these players want to send Ron Rivera out on top. They're 4-12, right? They're 0-5 in the NFC East. Rivera this week saying this year did not meet their expectations, so they do want to go out on top, and how fitting would it be to do it over their rival, the Cowboys? Maybe an added incentive, you could say today is also Ron Rivera's birthday. So a little maybe extra something there for them to play for. But you know, both of you guys, how important it is for the Washington Commanders to be able to beat the Dallas Cowboys. Also, Sam Howell is starting, guys. It's the first time since 2017 that the Commanders will have the same quarterback start every game since that was Kirk Cousins, if you remember back then.
Even though they've tried to bench him, but they just can't do it. I'll say this, though. If they lose, that opportunity to pick number 2 is hanging there as well. And there's another North Carolina quarterback coming out next year that, I'm sorry, Sam. Thank you, Sherry Burst. They're live in Washington. That is a 4 p.m. Eastern time start, as is the game up the road at MetLife Stadium, where it is lovely there in New York. Look at the snow coming down. Yeah, it is just, I'm glad I'm warm and in this studio. You know who's not warm? And you know who's not in the studio? Anybody? Mike Garafolo.
Well, Andrew, here at MetLife Stadium, the Eagles don't need this game necessarily. Now we'll see what happens with the Cowboys and the Commanders. Fletcher Cox saying, yeah, obviously we're going to keep an eye on that game and root for the Commanders, but we wouldn't have to watch it if we had taken care of our own business, which leads me back to the point of why the Eagles need this game. They need to get back to playing football the way that they did earlier in the season. And in talking to a few Eagles folks, they said Nick Sirianni's message to the players was, we were willing ourselves to win early in the year. Remember, we had those conversations about necessarily the style points not being there, but the team somehow coming out with those victories. Well, they're not even getting the victories at that point. In fact, the one game they won in the last 5 was against the Giants that they'll face today on Christmas Day. And I remember the mood after the game. That's not like a team that felt like it had won that game. So not a lot of good vibes for the Eagles. In fact, I'm told back to that Dolphins game on October 22nd is the last time they felt like they played a complete game. So they need to get this game against the Giants to start fast, finish fast, will themselves to a victory, to get that feeling back of playing a complete game before they get into the postseason, Andrew.
All right, they would like to play that complete game. But, White, if the Cowboys win, this game doesn't matter. They are going to be the 5 seed, and they're going to go on the road to the NFC South champion. Cowboys have to mess this up for the Eagles to win and potentially win the NFC East. But they've dropped 4 out of 5 after opening 10-1.
Yeah, just not good. That's why that report by Mike was really good. They have to get a win to feel good going into the playoffs. Now, defensively, they have not played well. But offensively, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown have got to find that connection again. Just 15 completions for A.J. Brown over the past 3 games, but it just hasn't felt like it did early in the season. That's the overall functionality of their offense. They have got to get in sync if they want to advance once they get to postseason, regardless if they're division champion or not. That's just one thing I think that is hugely important, regardless of the fact that they've already clinched the playoff berth.
The Eagles are the 2 seed or the 5 seed. The 2 seed hosting a wild card team coming in next week if they win or the Cowboys lose, or the 5 going on the road potentially here to Tampa, New Orleans, or to Atlanta. You could argue it's the easier road to be on the road.
Yes.
Next week, but it's kind of out of their hands. Anyway, we continue here on NFL Game Day Preview by showing you Travis Etienne on the field as the Jaguars play for the AFC South title. Kicking off shortly in Nashville, and we tell you we're going to be here next week and all throughout the playoffs. Wild Card Weekend, Sunday, same time, same streaming channel. Next week, plan accordingly as we continue here on Week 18. You're watching NFL Game Day preview on the NFL channel. It's pretty easy for the Jaguars today. Just win, because if you don't, you're out. The Texans won, all right? You want to win the AFC South? Then beat the Tennessee Titans today. Trevor Lawrence is up, and he is active. Missed last week. It was C.J. Beathard who led Jacksonville to a win over Carolina. But now, for the second consecutive year, it's a game against the Titans with the AFC South on the line. Steve White, I'm Andrew Siciliano in Jacksonville, or beg your pardon, in Tennessee. You get my point. Last year the game was in Jacksonville. This right here is our James Palmer with Trevor Lawrence good to go, bad shoulder and all, in a game that they absolutely need to win. And the Titans have Derrick Henry, and they have Ryan Tannehill, and maybe even Mike Vrabel with their last game there as Titans.
Yeah, you're right, Andrew. And Doug Peterson does think his team plays their best football when their back is against the wall, and that's actually the situation that they're in right here. But let's focus on the quarterback, and all of our eyes when this game kicks off will be on Trevor Lawrence. We were all watching him pregame. Now, what I thought was interesting is he didn't come out early for an earlier throwing session. Everything about his pregame warm-up, I'm told, was exactly the same. Came out at the exact same time, went through the same script. Saw him moving that shoulder around quite a bit after some of his throws. Now, obviously, he's going to play through some pain, but I had a chance, Andrew, to talk to him one-on-one after that throwing session, and he told me that, yes, his shoulder feels very good in his sense. He told me, we're going to go out there and rip it, which I thought was a great comment, considering Doug Peterson also with this offense, guys, wants to run the football. He wants to control games. He doesn't want this to be a game, to my understanding, where Trevor Lawrence goes out and throws the football 35 times. He doesn't think he needs to do that, Steve, to win this football game. We'll see what type of balance they have. When I talked to right tackle Anton Harrison, he told me, yes, Trevor runs our entire offense, but Travis Etienne's one of the best backs in all of football. When he runs the football extremely well and we stick to it, that's when we feel like our offense has the chance to be unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely, JP, but you know Tennessee, Jeffrey Simmons and those guys, they're going to be bringing some hammers against that offensive line. That run game is not going to be easy. Well, let's flip it on the other side right here, because the Jaguars defense, they're the ones who are really going to have to step up in this game. Like you mentioned, King Henry, this could be his last game. They're going to have to wrap him up. They're going to have to get him on the ground, make sure he does not get going. And Ryan Tannehill, this is his last game too. He is a veteran quarterback. He knows how to win these situations. This is where, again, Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, players like that are going to have to step up and show their worth and not put it on the Jags offense. This is a very, very tough game for Jacksonville, because you know the Titans would love to upset them. And if Jacksonville doesn't get this, looking forward, they have blown a great opportunity. In the next couple of years, this AFC South is not going to be easy, or as easy as it could have been this year for Jacksonville.
No, we saw that last night with the Colts and the Texans. We thank James Palmer. He's back to the TV side here. You mentioned Josh Allen. Josh Allen obviously factors large this evening. Miami, the Jaguars, Josh Allen has 16 and a half sacks against that banged-up offensive line. Maybe you want to take pressure off Trevor Lawrence's right shoulder. He could make a run at Defensive Player of the Year today, much like T.J. Watt did yesterday before he injured his knee. If the Jaguars win this game today, they host the Browns. They win the AFC South. That's their only way in. They can't be a wild card anymore. Steelers won. So it's win today and then host the Browns next week. You lose today, you're going home. And the Jaguars have blown it here in the AFC South down the stretch.
You hit the scenario right there.
You like that?
Love it.
Mr. Buster Rhymes, by the way, played halftime of the TNF game, Rams-Saints, a couple of weeks ago. Yes! That's Mr. Baker Mayfield. We're going to Carolina coming up next.
Bust a bus!
NFL's oldest rivalry, Packers and Bears.
Those two cities don't like each other.
I like this kind of party.
Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing.
Something in the water. Toe tap, touchdown. How you doing? Diving in the deep end. Touchdown Bears. Throws off his back foot. Touchdown. Fields throwing. Caught for the touchdown. And a sensational grab. Caught. Bears win.
You can call it the oldest, I'll call it the best. It's the NFL's best rivalry. Sorry, Ravens, Steelers, or Cowboys, Niners, or whomever else you got. That's what I'm doing. For the second straight year, friends, the Packers are at home in Week 18 facing a division rival with a clear path to the postseason. Just win the game. That's it. Just win and get in. You know, or they could have other things happen, but you need a 3-team parlay or do you need to just beat the Bears? It's a heck of a lot easier that way. Just beat the Bears. If you don't, then there are a lot of other moving pieces in the NFC, like the Seahawks and the Vikings in the waiting room here. Adam Rank joins us now, noted Bears fan, as we continue on.
I love how the
NFL
Packers get all these
preview.
home games in Week 18 against teams that didn't make the playoffs the previous season. Weird how that works.
Yeah, the Lions.
No, it's not a concern. I'm just saying facts.
Were that team last year, and the Lions beat Aaron Rodgers, and they kept him out of the playoffs. This time, it's the Bears trying to keep Jordan Love out of the playoffs.
And I think, I love this game because the Bears are playing so well. The Packers looked good last week, but we know their defense has been mercurial all offseason. And Adam, they have not played a mobile quarterback of the ilk of Justin Fields. So this is going to be a significant challenge, especially for their inside linebackers. You know, Devondre Campbell, Quay Walker. They are going to have to be disciplined to keep Justin Fields from doing his thing in the run and pass game, especially what he likes to do to his tight ends like Cole Kmet in that pass game.
Yeah, well, if you look back to Week 1, I mean, there was a situation where DJ Moore was playing in his first game with the Bears, and they really didn't get an opportunity to get him the football. He had 2 receptions for 25 yards. But what we've seen out of Justin Fields over the last number of weeks is a player who's really taken command of this offense. Last week, he threw an absolute dime to DJ Moore in the end zone against one of the best players in the NFL, Jesse Bates, in the snow. Justin Fields can make the throws. He can run, and now this is his opportunity to finally put it all together. We say this, you know, with tempered expectations because I've been burned before, but I think that they've really got something cooking here.
Yeah, I think they win this game. I think the Bears win this game, and then I think they move on from Justin Fields. Not an anti-Justin Fields take. I just think organizationally it's the right thing to do. You reset the quarterback money thing.
But
I think that's going to happen.
I understand the science.
You understand the science. But I would love to see Justin Fields win this game today and become the first Bears quarterback to win at Lambeau since anyone?
Jay Cutler.
Jay Cutler, inside the NFL's Jay Cutler on Thanksgiving of 2015. That's Bailey Zappi. He's starting at quarterback in snowy Foxborough today. Is it Bill Belichick's final game? As Mac Jones played his final game, he's the emergency 3 today. You believe that? Yeah, it's true. You are watching NFL Game Day Preview. You are looking at Justin Jefferson, one hand. Warming up there as the Vikings get ready for the Lions. The Vikings have a 4% chance to make the playoffs. It is a 4-game parlay. They got to win. They got to have the Bears win, the Cardinals win, either the Panthers or the Falcons win, which takes us to Who Scores, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's talk about the Lions side of it. They're either the 2 seed or the 3 seed, likely the 3, depending on how things go in the NFC East. So here's the same game parlay for this game. Lions score 20. We've got a Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown on here. We got Justin Jefferson on here as well. This is a same game parlay at plus 272. Jefferson averaging $126 against Detroit. Oh, by the way, in his career. Don't forget, DraftKings Sportsbook this season, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Download the app and use the promo code GAME when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. And the NFC South crowd is Mike Evans and the Buccaneers. If they win today in Carolina, all they have to do is beat the 2-win Panthers, who were shut out last week for the first time in 21 years. That's it. Easy, right? Maybe? It's NFL Game Day Preview. You are looking reasonably live at Baker Mayfield on the road in Carolina. All the Bucs have to do today to win the NFC South is beat the 2-win Carolina Panthers. If they do that, they are the only team in the NFC to make the playoffs for 4 consecutive seasons. More from Charlotte, Sarah Walsh.
Thanks, Andrew. Baker Mayfield is going to go for the Buccaneers today. No surprise given how tough he is, despite sustaining a rib injury that left him feeling pretty sore from a week ago. It came after a late hit by Tyrann Mathieu. Now, it's winning in for the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield's been in that situation one time before. It was his only postseason appearance back in 2020 with the Browns. a regular season finale against the Steelers. He had to beat them to get in, and he did it. He said what he learned from that situation is you have to understand and appreciate how special that atmosphere is. And when you're in the huddle, it could be your last time together, so make it count. He has certainly made his season count with the Buccaneers so far. Career highs in touchdowns, passing yards, completion percentage, and today he could cap it off with a division crown.
Thank you, Sarah. They could have capped it off last week, but they were shut out for the first 3 quarters. Baker took that huge shot when scrambling to the ribs. He is going to tough it out today. We were talking off air about the scenarios, the crazy things that could happen today. I cannot see the Buccaneers losing this game.
Hey, look, you know, a lot of people couldn't see Houston losing last year either in that final game, and then and they won that ball game. Look, the Buccaneers' offensive line just has to play well. They've got to run the ball well. They've got to protect Baker Mayfield, who shouldn't have to throw the ball more than 20 times if the offensive line does its job. I mean, the one strength of the Carolina Panthers is their defensive front. So if they get them, if they start mowing them down, get the run game going, they're going to get some phone calls from the stadium from Panthers players saying, fire up the golf carts.
Oh, geez.
Because their season is over. There's going to be a lot of changes there. But the Bucs need to go ahead and get started, Adam, and go ahead and put these guys, kill their spirit real quick.
Put them to bed. Like, when you look at the Panthers, you're like, base, how low can you go? Like, death row, maybe? That's maybe too
What
far.
up, brother? No?
But here's the thing.
Once again, back is the incredible Baker Mayfield.
Animal.
Okay.
Oh, there he is.
There you go.
Here's my thing. Like, when you think about the Carolina Panthers, like, typically when you're in a situation like this, you're picking at the top of the draft. But you traded that pick away last year. You don't have DJ Moore. You don't have a #1 pick. Where is the hope for this Panthers team? Who is going to be the coach of this squad? Who wants to coach? I'm sure you'll be able to go out there and find somebody, but it's not going to be one of these hot names. It's not going to be like Ben Johnson. It's going to be like, hey,
Ben Johnson said no last year.
It's going to be like Jim Schwartz, who's a fine person, a fine human being, but it's like, it's not going to be something that energizes this Panthers franchise.
Never know.
I don't know. I feel bad for them, and I feel bad for the Panthers fans. I bet a bunch of them at Super Bowl 50. Great people, but this is going to be a rough stretch.
Here's how bad it was last week for the Panthers. Eddie Pinheiro, their kicker, got hurt his hammy, I believe, on the opening kickoff of the game.
Wait, who is the backup?
It didn't matter because they didn't need a kicker the rest of the game. All 59 minutes and 54 seconds of game action. But if the Panthers upset the Bucs, as we look at the NFC playoff picture, that means the winner of the New Orleans-Atlanta game will win the NFC South and get a home playoff game next week. Yes, that means you, Atlanta Falcons, even with a losing record, and your coach potentially here on the hot seat. The Cowboys are a win away from wrapping up the 2 seed in the NFC East. If they were to stumble, then the Eagles could obviously move up to the 2 seed. If they both stumble, then the Lions could move up potentially here to the 2 seed, despite the Taylor Decker and Dan Skipper thing from last week. But the Cowboys, much like the Buccaneers, are not gonna mess this up, right? They're in Washington and Ron Rivera's goodbye. They're not gonna mess this up, right?
Oh, come on now. Come on now, this could possibly happen. You wouldn't think so, but, you know, Dallas on the road, Washington, you know, this is the type of scenario where, hey, let's go out, let's try to knock off our arch rival. Dallas has got to get this run game going right here, and that could include Dak Prescott getting out on some scheduled runs. Yes, you do not want to put him in harm's way, but get him out in some things. Move him around a little bit. The run game has been so hot and cold for Dallas. You got to get ready for the playoffs. You're going to be playing next week regardless if you're at home or if you're playing in a wild card game. So run the ball a little bit. Again, Washington, maybe you can get them to tap out. If you beat them up a little bit, we'll see. But I think this is where Dak Prescott and that ground game's got to get going.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about the Eagles, too. I know everybody's been quick to write them off after everything that's gone down the last 5 weeks. It's not been very good. But at the same time, I still believe that there's way too much talent on this team. I think they need to fix some things. I think when they made the decision to put Matt Patricia in at defensive coordinator, that caused a little bit of an issue. He's trying to figure it out. Like, maybe don't have Hassan Reddick play coverage a lot. Like that might not be, listen, hey. I'm not as accomplished as Matt Patricia, but that's one thing where you're like, maybe I won't do that. I know they're playing a lot more dime stuff. Apparently, linebackers do matter in Philadelphia. Thanks for TJ Edwards. So here's my thing, though. I still think that it's a pretty good opportunity for them to go out there. And you know what? The Cowboys somehow lose and the Eagles end up with the #2 seed. That could be wild.
Yeah,
real quick, our researcher Justin's an Eagles fan. He's back there squirming like I don't know what with all that stuff you just said, Adam.
What do you mean? What lie did I say?
Look, I can tell you right now, there's a chance the Eagles play in Atlanta next week.
Yeah.
There's a chance the Eagles host the Seahawks next week. I mean, there are so many. There are 256 different NFC scenarios. Let's go back to the wild card because the Packers are winning in.
Yep.
Okay. But if they mess it up, then the Seahawks are the next team waiting. All right, they're in the waiting room here. But if the Packers and the Seahawks both mess it up, then the Saints can get in there. And then, like, if the Saints mess it up, that is, they lose, and then, they still want to be a wild card, then the Vikings could potentially get in there. But it all comes down to the Packers, going back to the let's not mess this up. Last year, they couldn't beat in game 272. Jared Goff and the Lions went for it, that big fourth down. They got it. Jared pumped his fist. Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb walked up the tunnel. Right?
Look,
and the same scenario this week.
It could. And here's the thing with me. With the Packers, if they get in, I think they will be a dangerous playoff team because the way they're running the ball with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, I think that's what they're going to have to do. But this combination, and we've seen with them in the past couple of weeks working together, this really helps out Jordan Love in the run-action pass game. And again, this is what some of these teams, and when it comes to playoff football, you have to do to succeed. They're peaking at the right time with this type of offensive formation. And again, if they get in, they could be a problem, a team to watch out for.
Don't do that. No, they're not going to be a problem. There's nothing going on
because you say they're not getting in.
First of all, you're not getting in.
Okay.
Well, wait. Can they lose to the Bears and still get in?
No. Oh, yes, they could. It would be like a 14.
I kind of want that to happen. I want the Bears to beat them, and then I want the Packers to get in. Again, Steve's going to come out and be like, this team's going to be a problem.
Yes.
And then the 49ers beat them by 80. Just like they always do. That's what happens. There's always
you got them winning the playoff game.
This always happens with the Packers. You guys build them up too much.
Here's how they could get in. They could get in if the Saints lose, the Seahawks lose, the Vikings lose, and then or the whatever. They can get in.
No,
yes,
you know what?
if they lose.
I just wanted to lose and be out of the playoffs.
Okay.
That's fine. But I will say Jordan Love's been playing pretty well.
Here's the AFC playoff picture.
There, Adam.
Ravens are locked in as the 1. The AFC East champion will be the 2. That's either the Dolphins or the Bills. The Chiefs are locked in as the 3. The AFC South champion is locked in as the 4. It'll be the Jaguars if they win. It'll be the Texans if the Titans win.
Do him nasty. Hey, do him nasty.
Throws to Diggs for the touchdown! Allen throws to the left sideline, complete to Diggs, trying to spin away from the tacklers, and he does! Headed to the end zone! Touchdown! Stephon Diggs!
Are you not entertained?
Throws in the end zone. It's a trifecta for Stephon Diggs!
Hat trick! Hat trick! You want more?
You know.
Is it Stephon Diggs' final game as a Bills if they don't make the playoffs? There are a lot of finalities. Week 18. This is the AFC East Championship game here. The Bills can get in before this game and be guaranteed a wild card if they lose, if the Titans beat the Jaguars. But that is a big if. If Jacksonville wins and wins the division, and Jacksonville and Houston are both in, Bills got to win this.
They got to win it.
They got to win it.
And look, the way that we look back early in the season, that's when Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen went off. But they need to keep on doing what they've been doing the past couple weeks, and that's running the ball with James Cook. And they're going to have an opportunity against a banged-up Dolphins defense. Yeah, it may set the table, for them to hit some big passing yards, but Josh Allen needs to do more of this today, which is what he's been doing during this winning streak. You look at his passing numbers the past 4 games, not impressive whatsoever. But the fact that James Cook and Josh Allen are moving the ball on the ground, this offensive line now feels like they've got some traction as road graders. Take advantage of that and keep using that, burn clock, and keep Miami's big play offense off the field.
Well, that's a big credit to Joe Brady, and ever since he's taken over as offensive coordinator. And the Dolphins need to figure out what they're going to do without a number of their offensive talent available to them. Guys like Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert are not expected to play this evening. Who is going to be the guy who steps up? Now, you talked about Tyreek Hill using him in a variety of different ways, and I love that idea, but there still has to be somebody else. Somebody else needs to step up and make a play. And I love Achane. Like, coming into this season, I thought he was going to be a huge find for the Dolphins. And we've seen him in spurts. Like, when he's available and healthy and ready to go for the Dolphins, he's been fantastic. So I hope that he's able to step up here today.
I thought you were going to say Chase Claypool.
Listen, you know what the cool thing about that is the Bears moved on. It's cool to be like,
Moved
you know
on.
what,
Cut their
we made a
losses.
mistake.
Yeah, cut their losses.
Cut their losses and moved on.
33rd overall pick.
Whatever, not a first rounder. Though.
They moved on. Not a first rounder.
Not essentially a first, nope, a second rounder.
Let's look at the AFC South. It's real simple. We either get one team in or two teams in.
Better than Joey Porter.
I love Tyreek Stevenson. Jaguars beat the Titans. The Jaguars win the division, and Houston is a wild card. Jaguars lose to the Titans. The Titans mess up Jacksonville's postseason. Jacksonville is out, and Houston wins the AFC South. This is good news if you're a Jaguars fan. And that is Trevor Lawrence, bad shoulder and all, is up and ready. But as we discussed earlier with James Palmer, who was covering this game, you don't want Trevor Lawrence to have to throw the ball 40 times today. You need Josh Allen to get in the backfield and get after Ryan Tannehill. If you're just joining us, Will Levis is down. Ryan Tannehill is going to start. It might be his final game. It might be Derrick Henry's final game, White. Might be Mike Vrabel's final game. For my money, other than Bills-Dolphins, this is the most fascinating game today.
Huge game, and you've seen Trevor Lawrence there. Look, he's not going to have Christian Kirk. We know they activated him, and you know Christian Kirk, since he's been hurt, that's really when their offense has faltered. They've got to get the ball to Evan Ingram today. I think it's going to be kind of a ball possession type game, intermediate passing route. Don't ask Trevor Lawrence to have to make too many plays. Maybe get it out to Travis Etienne in the swing game, but just be very, very precise and efficient in the passing game.
Remember when Christian Kirk signed that huge contract and everybody was kind of put off by the amount of money they gave him? But it seemed like a very good deal for them because he has been such an important part of their offense. But it's also going to be the defense here that needs to step up. They did last week against Carolina, against a team that didn't have much to play for. Very similar situation right here. So I'm looking for the Jags defense to step up.
Jacksonville has stumbled of late. Jacksonville was able to win this past week with C.J. Beathard, now trying to win again with Trevor Lawrence. Time now to make our final regular season Sunday statement. A bold prediction, if you will. Adam, rank up first.
My Sunday statement, let's get crazy. I want chaos in Week 18.
Don't we all?
Nothing would be more chaotic than seeing the Commanders take down the Dallas Cowboys. I predict that Ron Rivera will go out one game above 500 with a victory over the Dallas
On his
Cowboys.
birthday.
On his birthday. There's just so many different things. Like, anytime, this is the great thing about the NFL. Every time we have a team like the Commanders that we've written off, they find a way to rise to the occasion, and you want to see it, and you want to see it against the Dallas Cowboys. I think most of us who are not fans of America's team would all agree like that. Yeah, that's the one we want to see.
It just seems like this could happen. I mean,
Right?
more than anything, it just seems like this is a legit possibility.
Slinging Sam Howell.
That's right, but I want to go back to the big game. I want to go back to the big game. Adam, you just talked about some of the issues that the Dolphins have with injuries, but I am saying Tyreek Hill is going to have a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown, and the Dolphins are going to win this game and the AFC East.
Wow.
Okay.
You don't like that, do you?
No, I think it's actually plausible, and it's giving me pause when it comes to my Sunday statement, my final one here of Week 18. I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to say the Bills win this game. The Bills get in. They win the AFC East this evening, but I'll take it a step further. I'll double down, and I'll say that Josh Allen is AFC Offensive Player of the Week.
No way.
Because Josh Allen has won the award 5 times when facing the Dolphins.
Not happening. He's not
when he plays the Dolphins, he is AFC Offensive Player of the Week. He's going to go to Miami. They're going to pace the Dolphins, and he is going to get. Do they actually send you physical hardware? I don't know that they do for Player of the Week.
C.J. Stroud or Nico Collins already has received that bag.
They both played well.
Very.
Tip of the cap to the Texans, the entire organization for making the postseason. Josh Allen wins AFC Offensive Player of the Week.
Josh Allen won it for the AFC defensive side.
There we
Josh
go.
Allen
In Jacksonville.
goes off today.
I could go for that as well. For Adam Rank and
Both
Steve
Josh
Weich,
Allens.
my name is Andrew Siciliano. Please enjoy Week 18, and please do so responsibly. And we are back next week on Super Wildcard Weekend.
Yes.
On NFL Game Day 3.
Here we
So long.
go.